hit that like or the dislike and hit the subscribe button. Good morning, gang. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day it is, whatever location you are geographically. I hope you're having a good one, and it's time to get it started off with Rips and Sips, Pastor Blaster, 17.1 with Harry Smith. And we'll get it started like we always do with a rip and a sip. Good morning, gang.
About every great city, about every little hamlet in the country. I mean, he has gone over this countryside sowing that seed called S-I-N. And we're living in an hour when there are thousands of people today that say sin. Sin, in the minds of many, does not exist.
All right, fuckface. Before you start playing word games and all your little Christianese fucking language games, sin as a concept exists. Like, I believe you fuckers think sin is a thing, but it's not. It's a made-up concept by Christians and theists. Because we have shit that is, secular replacement for that type of, like, fairy tale horse shit. It's called laws. There's laws against shit that's bad for society, right? That's why we have laws. Now, these imaginary thought crimes that you fuckers are calling sin, if it's not murder, rape, robbery, like those things, yes, the Bible addresses those as being bad. Or no. Wait a minute. No, it doesn't. Because it makes women marry their fucking rapists in your fucking book. So there's that. You know, our secular laws are better than your fucking biblical horseshit sin laws.
And they say that sin is not real. But I want to tell you, we have changed the name of sin, but it is still old-fashioned S-I-N.
This little Keebler-Elf fucking Klansman likes spelling shit, don't he? Is it because he's in Tennessee and he's just trying to show off for the congregation that he knows how to spell? I don't fucking know.
We call it drunkard. Well, the Bible call it drunkards. No drunkard shall inherit the kingdom of God. But we call it a disease.
No, asshole. We don't call it a disease. We don't. Dumb fucks like us don't. The fucking Mayo Clinic and Americans with Disabilities Act, they call it a fucking disease. People that actually know shit and are trained in the fucking field know what the fuck it is. They say it's a fucking disease. Not some little shitbag preacher with some fucking crackerjack box fucking doctorate degree. Not that. Real motherfucking doctors.
God never has, and God never will send any man or woman or boy or girl to hell for a disease.
I mean, that's only fair. He's the motherfucker that gave him the disease. I mean, it'd be a pretty dick move to give him the disease and then fucking send them to hell because they have the fucking disease. Although I wouldn't put that past your shitbag God.
For cancer, for any other sort of disease, no man or woman will ever go to hell because of AIDS, because of herpes, or any other kind of disease. We're going to hell because we're drunkards.
All right, listen, you little sack of fuck. The only reason we would have diseases or anything of the sort, right? Not just diseases, but if we're drunkards or whatever the fuck kind of Christianese language you're fucking using here to play your word games, God made that happen to us. God did that shit on purpose to us. He created humans. He created diseases and bad happenings. And then he gave the diseases and the bad happenings to the humans he created, you motherfucker.
no drunkard shall inherit the kingdom of God. I didn't say that.
Wait, what? Yes, you did say that. You can't fucking do that, Harry. What the fuck just happened? You went on a big spiel, and then you said, I didn't say that. You did say that, sir. I have you on video.
And we have turned adultery into all sorts of excuses. We say no longer, but I tell you, are they dope addicts? But they're abusers, drug abusers.
All right, shithead. Addiction I can speak to. That is something I have experienced in my life. And I can assure you, it was not a choice. I did not go into it thinking, oh, fuck, I think I'll get addicted to heroin today. I think I'll get addicted to opiates, heroin, and crack. No, motherfucker, that ain't how addiction goes. And you can tell your ignorance, like you're showing your ass when you talk about things like this. We can tell that you've never experienced none of this. You're speaking from pure, unadulterated ignorance. So let me shed some light on it for you there, Harry. People don't choose to get addicted. Whenever I got addicted, I was probably compensating for something mental, some happening, some chemical imbalance mentally. And I don't know, I was seeking something. In the midst of seeking something, because I had seeked something before, I found cannabis and mushrooms. Those two things are not addictive. I mean, I suppose you could become mentally dependent on them maybe if you weren't careful. But as far as withdrawals and shit like that, like physical dependency, like they don't have those. So I was using those. So then I just kind of started graduating to other things, like other drugs, because I've been lied to about drugs my whole fucking life. Then, by the time I got something that made me feel good, like the opiates, the heroin, and then I was doing crack to wake up from doing too much heroin and opiates. I really liked the opiates and the heroin. Like, I liked that buzz. Then the fucking, you do too much of it and you start nodding out. And I would start nodding out. And when you start nodding out, you're just passing out. You're going to sleep. And sometimes you're kind of asleep, but you can hear things. You can hear shit going on. But you literally can't keep your eyes open and you can't keep your head up straight. So I would then, in turn, to get myself back up awake a little bit, I would smoke crack. And then I gradually became addicted to that mixture buzz, to that opiate crack mixture, that particular feeling. Then I became addicted to that particular one. Now, one or the other would do. I could do one or the other and kind of scratch that itch. But what I really wanted was that double whammy, that fucking, they used to call it speedballing back in the day when people would like shoot up fucking heroin and meth, or heroin and coke, or, you know, whatever. They would mix some upper and downer and do that. So that's basically what I was doing. Then the addiction sets in before you really know what the fuck's going on. First, you're just really enjoying this feeling that you have, because maybe your life sucks. Maybe you're in despair. Maybe there's just, because despair is a motherfucker, man. And like, so maybe you get desperate and then you turn to that shit and it feels good. It makes you forget about your fucking bad problems and shit, which is not good, because your bad problems and your shit is still happening. But then you compensate by doing these drugs. Then before long, you're physically dependent on these drugs. Then when you try to stop doing them, you get sick, physically ill, you vomit, you feel horrible, like you have the flu for weeks, months at a time. If you are strong enough to push through that, and then maintain the mental strength and discipline to not go back to the drug dealers, not go back to the friends that you thought you had. They're not really your friends. They're addicts, and you all are using each other in a little group to go get more drugs. But that's another tangent. Now, and then I would turn to stealing, because eventually I didn't have a fucking job. So I would steal cars and scrap them. I would steal whatever, any kind of metal I could get and go scrap. That was a pretty easy snatch and grab and go get rid of it before anybody really knew it was gone. It would be melted down or on a train headed to somewhere to get melted down. But I'm kind of rambling now about fucking crazy addiction stories. But it's not a choice. And it may not be a disease. I don't know what the qualifications are medically anymore. I know it changed over time. But I know it's a fucking problem. And America's full of it. And it would be a mental dependency and a physical dependency and a disease. I mean, according to the thing I looked at from 2022, it was considered a disease. Addiction is. So, with that said, let's get back to little bigoted fuckface curmudgeon.
We say they are no longer harlots, no longer are they prostitutes, now they are sport ladies. They are ladies of the night. That's what we are calling them.
And right from fucking shaming people with addiction problems into shaming sex workers. Now, this is a complicated subject that I don't have very much personal experience with. What experience I do have with it, I was on the paying end, right? I have been to several foreign countries. When I was overseas, sometimes you would seek the services of a prostitute, and they would, you would get what you paid for. Let's put it that way. And I got what I paid for several times. I'm not shaming these people. They were making money, and overseas it was much different. Like, it's more of a sex trafficking. Once I found out that, I kind of stopped doing it, but it's like an indentured servitude. Like, some rich person in Southeast Asia, let's say, some rich person there owes a debt to another rich person. Or some person owes a debt to a rich person and they don't have any money. They will sell their daughter to them or rent their daughter to them into like an indentured servitude prostitution type thing, where then they are now at the mercy of some pimp, for a lack of a better fucking term, a trafficker. So I didn't really understand that. I was like fucking 18 to 21 back then, you know what I mean? I didn't really understand the logistics of it. I thought I was just paying this lady to have sex with her, and I was giving her money, and then she would just take my money and go buy shit with it. I didn't really fucking know, man. I wasn't digging too much into it. I was just trying to do what I was doing. If we have anybody in the comments that can speak to sex work from the other end, from the sex worker end, and someone that's doing positive sex work, because there is positive sex work out there. There are people that are doing it on their own accord. They are not being controlled by a trafficker. They are doing the thing on their own. They enjoy it. They are getting paid well, and they're able to support themselves and possibly a fucking family with it. So I don't have any problems with it. I myself am speaking out of some ignorance on it, so I don't want to go too far into it. If I've got anybody in the comments, any of my viewers that are watching that either experience it themselves or know someone who does or whatever, please leave a comment. Let me know. I'm going to shut my mouth and move on.
But all of it put together does not change the fact of old-fashioned sin. It's no longer gamblers. It's a casino. It is a lottery. And many of the saints of God would put $1 in that lottery if you could get $1 million back. If you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you could get $100 million by investing $1 in the lottery, would you do it?
For one, fuck yeah, they would. Don't let them lie to you. For two, it's not gambling anymore. If you know for certain that if you invest $1 into a thing and you're going to get $100 million back, you know for certain it's not gambling. There is no gamble there. There's no odds that you're not going to win. You're going to hand over $1 and you're going to get $100 million handed back to you. That's not a gamble. You're stupid and you don't understand gambling.
Would you do it? I mean, there are hundreds of deacons and thousands of preachers. They would give up that dollar. But it can only become a curse. I have made a study.
Oh, did you now? You made a study, huh? This sounds suspect.
Of all of those that have received lotteries, and doctor, without exception, every one of them have become wrecks and ruined. Some of them have committed suicide. And I tell you, they have learned that millions will not give you peace.
All right, I'm going to call bullshit on your fucking study of the world there, little bumfuck preacher from fucking Tennessee. I'm going to place a wager that you didn't do a study of the world of lotteries and gambling, and everybody in the world that's ever played a lottery or ever gambled money and won has turned into a fucking degenerate afterwards and committed suicide. I don't believe you for a fucking second. You're full of shit, you little fucker.
Only the blood of Jesus.
I don't know. That sounds like some fucking pagan blood magic witchcraft bullshit to me.
We call it no longer murderers. We call it abortionists.
No, stupid. I don't have time to go into all of it. But abortion does not cover all murder. If I walk out and murder someone, they're not going to say, oh, look at the trees went out and aborted some guy. No, that's not what fucking happened. And that's not how we use that fucking word. And now you're calling a zygote that's living inside of a human being a human. You're saying that it's a baby. It's not. It's a little clump of cells most of the time. There's usually not late-term abortions because usually once it's that far along, that person wanted to have that fucking baby. If they have a fucking abortion at that point, it is a medical emergency. And I'm just going to condense this very small because I go with what the doctors say. I am pro-choice because I don't have a fucking uterus. I don't have a fucking say in the matter. I'm not going to have a thing growing inside of me. So that's up to the person that will have the thing growing inside of them. You little shitty fucking fuckface.
But that doesn't change the reality of real sin. We no longer call them statesmen. We now call them politicians. We no longer call them preachers. We now call them prophets of good things.
No, they're like you, lying, grifting, little charlatan fuckfaces. That's what they are.
I want to tell you, as sure as I'm on this platform, you can listen to all of these preachers that offer you pie in the sky, but when you accept what they accept, you're going to accept a portion of poison soup that's going to bring to you and your family doom and destruction and damnation.
Yeah, because that's what an all-loving fucking God would do. He would bring doom and devastation and destruction upon your family.
I believe that we need to get back to what old-fashioned sin really is. Adam and Eve got acquainted with old-fashioned sin when the devil slipped into the garden, said to Eve as she reclined under that tree of life, looking at that beautiful fruit, now Eve, God knows if you eat of that tree, in that day you will become as wise as God.
Your God is a piece of shit. He put the devil and that tree in there to tempt Eve, knowing that she would fall for it. Your God's a prick, and so are you.
And he deceived her.
Let's just start off. This is a doctor, a grown-ass man who thinks this fairy tale bullshit that somebody fucking made, that God made a dude out of fucking mud, made a mud golem, then he fucking makes it, pulls a rib out of him, makes a rib woman. He believes this bullshit as truth, as literal truth, fact. And he thinks that's how fucking people became people. And then he thinks they fucking incested their way to what? Noah's flood, until Noah and them had to fucking incest their way to wherever the fuck we are now. Like, this is insanity.
And as a result of old-fashioned sin, Adam and Eve were driven out of paradise and had to earn their livelihood by the sweat of their face all of their days.
Yeah, because your God is a petty douchebag that can't forgive the imperfect creations that he created.
Cain because of old-fashioned sin, became a castaway. He became a vagabond. And because of old-fashioned sin, all of the people of Noah's day drowned, with the exception of Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives, these 8 souls.
All right, gang. That wraps up this installment of the Kentucky Fried Keebler Klansman fucking Harry Smith, little bigoted shitbag. Fuck him and his little ugly face. And I'll leave you, like I always do, gang, with a rip and a sip. Till next time, gang. Peace out.